This ugly son of a bitch is a colossal titan I drew for, of course, Attack on Titan because he is, he has character we see more than one time. If you like, remember to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for more ugly fuckers.
Attack on Titan, Episode 5, First Battle.
Well, hello, my brothers and sisters of the Nerd Nation. I, as always, am Jim, here to bring you another review on just the really awesome and epic and action-packed tale of Attack on Titan. This is for episode 5, and the last couple of episodes have been a little bit more on the character development side and not as much on the just kind of crazy action side. And as I've mentioned in all my reviews before, the animation, at least to me, is very top-notch, very well done, very crisp, clean, holds up very well in high definition, and I don't even know how animation's done anymore, so I don't know if it's, partially drawn still and partially computer generated or a combination of the both or one or the other. I just know that it looks really freaking cool. So our last episode saw us, the end of it, the Colossal Titan appearing again, bashing a hole in the gate into the city of Trost. And again, this is not into the next Wall Maria. It is, but it isn't. It's actually one of those alcove-like cities. And it's probably where the wall, I guess, is weakest or maybe thinnest or something like that, because he's able to bash through, and it's one of those culvert-like cities, the city of Trost. Anyway, the episode had ended up with, with Eren and a bunch of the other recently graduated trainees getting kind of knocked off of the wall, and then kind of regrouping, and Eren going and flying up and going, everybody, battle formations, let's attack, let's take this sumbitch down, right? So that's where things, start off, and honestly, it's very cool just the way the animation is done. I mean, he goes and you really truly get to see how this works with these. They fire one of these like harpoon-like things almost into rock or into the Titan or whatever, and then it starts to reel them in, coupled with this jet propulsion pack that they have on them. And it almost looks like they're like effortlessly running along the air, kind of like something out of like an Assassin's Creed, but like super hyper fast speed style, So anybody who has played the recent release Saints Row 4, you have this the super run that you can do, and it's kind of like that. You can just, it's almost like running on air. So he winds up having this really cool battle, with the Colossal Titan. I mean, at least it looks like it. The Titan goes and comes and kind of swings at where Eren is, and Eren, shoots himself out of the way and kind of in midair looks and sees that the Colossal Titan actually went to take out the cannons, the battle emplacements, right? So this is the first time that we see, and he kind of clicks with them. He's like, they're sentient beings, like they can think, okay? They can think on their own, because clearly that's why he went for the gate, and then he went and initially went and attacked the cannons, right? Less resistance. So his other Titan brethren can get in the city, I guess. So Eren goes and he's like, that's it, Titan, and he goes, and it's kind of cool because he lands on his outstretched arm, and this thing is huge, right? He's got to be a couple hundred feet tall. And Eren goes and he starts running down his his arm or whatever, and as he goes to move the arm, Eren kind of jumps off into the side and then goes and fires his his harpoon thing out and swings around behind him. And it's kind of cool because in one fell swoop, like all slow motion style, he goes and just goes and goes to nail the back of this thing's neck there where their weak point is supposed to be, right? And this Titan too, for some reason, they're all very warm, but this one emits smoke out of it. I mean, it's literally on fire. They mentioned in the last episode that they were their skin was almost burning. They were so close to it, so much heat. So he goes and nails this thing, and there's steam coming out everywhere and stuff. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, man, he's just it's Roadrunner when he goes in Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote, when Wile E. Coyote all of a sudden runs out onto nothing, and then he just looks down and there's nothing. The Titan's gone. He's like, what the hell? So, he fires his harpoon thing, to get back up onto the wall and repel, get back up. And he gets back up, and the rest of his squad's kind of like, hey, what happened? Did you defeat it? And he's like, no, it got away, I'm so sorry. So anyway, everybody's kind of, Connie winds up going, because there's this exchange between, between Eren and I believe it was Reiner, and I don't know all their names perfectly yet, but I do know what Connie looks like, because basically they're talking about it. He's like, it's okay, don't worry, telling Eren because he didn't kill the Titan, and Connie's like, listen, enough of that shit now. We got to figure out how to plug this hole before the Titans come wandering in, okay, and just start, eating humanity again. So then they go in, and one of their command sergeants or somebody above them basically comes and says, listen, all recruits back to like the training, the garrison, back to headquarters. What he says, I'm sorry, headquarters, to get your orders. Anybody who had contact with with the colossal titan, make sure that you obviously report, blah blah blah. So then we go and we see kind of a cool thing where like they've got these better battle emplacements and cannons in the 5 years now since the outer wall was breached, since wall Rose was breached. This is wall Maria, and or maybe I got them switched around, but anyway, they got these cannons, and you see them like firing these things and kind of hitting the titans and knocking them down and everything. But the thing is you can see these things going and like their heads like burned off, and they can see it like growing back and regenerating. So it only slows them down. It's not killing them. But basically that forward group of soldiers of the Survey Corps or whatever are basically like kind of the scene ends with them sort of jumping over the wall once they've stunned a bunch of them, and you assume they're going to slow down their advance. So we then go and we kind of see this commander Pixis and Marquis Bart or something like that. I forget his name. Is kind of this fat pompous ass, and I don't know if he's supposed to be like the king or he's one of like the royalty or what have you of the place. But this Commander Pixis is playing chess with him, and the basic exchange of it is that we find out that Pixis pretty much comes and plays chess once a month with this douchey type fellow, and he lets him win to make him think that he's all big and bad and everything else. But and this guy ultimately makes fun of him a lot and everything else, but he's the commander and it's his job to protect this South territory. So when he gets word that the Titans have breached, and that they're in Trost, he's basically like, I gotta go. And this guy's like, no, you gotta stay, with me. And he's like, no, I don't. He's like, my men are out there dying. There's people that have already died, countless that have given their lives. And he basically tells this pompous ass, enjoy your life back here behind the walls in relative safety. And, like a normal day, I gotta go take care of some shit. So it's kind of cool. We're introduced to these two characters, and I'm sure they'll come into play later on. So then we go and we kind of see like a kind of a cool exchange where all the trainees are basically like getting their orders. They're getting their groups that they're supposed to go into. You're going to do this. You're going to protect the retreat. You're going to be in the advanced guard. All this other stuff, right? And that's going on. And we see kind of like a flashback to the trainees when they were in training, and we actually learn more about the Titans. We learn that it seems like they don't go for any other animals. First of all, they tell us that basically they all appear to be somewhat male, but yet they don't have any like sexual reproduction organs. So no, hoo-hoo dillies or cha-chas, and that basically they all appear to be somewhat male. And they show them like walking through the forest in this flashback, and like they're just walking by deer and stuff like that. They only seem to want to eat humans, right? And we don't know why. We know very little about them. I guess before they appeared 100 years ago, 105 now. I guess most of that the writings and stuff before that books on them were lost, so we know very little. But we do know that they regenerate, that they have, their head can regenerate in 1 to 2 minutes, most of them can, and that they have this weak spot on the back of their neck. We also find out too, which is kind of a cool thing, that they don't seem to eat humans out of necessity to feed. They seem to eat humans just because they want to, because they just for some reason want to eat us, because once we retreated and built, inside these walls and everything like that, obviously there's thousands, hundreds of thousands, I don't know, of these things covering the world, and they're not able to eat on a regular basis. Now, we don't know yet if there's any other cities or civilizations anywhere on this world. We just assume that this is the last, hope of humanity, because that's what we were told. So the information that we're given is very good, I think. There's a quick breakdown then of a couple of the trainees. Kind of, you can see Armin's real shook up. He's just not really a fighter. He's not really cut out for this stuff. We see that Jean is all pissed off because he was, and I made a mistake in my last one too. He was in the top 10. He was just pissed off so he could go to the military police or whatever, the King's Guard. But he was pissed off because Eren actually scored higher than him. So my mistake, just an accidental thing in there. It happens from time to time. So I'll be the first to admit it when I know I made one. But so he goes and kind of has this breakdown about, son of a bitch, this couldn't happen tomorrow. Tomorrow I'd be safe back behind the walls and this and that. So Eren kind of goes and bumps into him, and you think they're going to tussle. But Eren goes and gives this really cool speech, man, that like really amps him and hopefully everybody up around him. And he's like, we're not going to die here today. He's like, are you serious? After all the hell we've been through for the past 3 years in training, all the times we almost died, all the people that didn't make it, couldn't cut it, got kicked out, quit, whatever, you were, and he's trying to explain to him, you were one of the top ones to graduate, So we're not going to die today. We're going to go out there, we're going to kick the shit out of these things, and then tomorrow you're going to go to, the King's Guard and have your pampered, cushy little life, right? So Jean just kind of like, and he grabs his group and goes to walk away. But I think it was more of like a motivational speech to charge everybody up. So there's a quick exchange between Eren and Mikasa where Mikasa's like, hey, listen, if the shit hits the fan and things go to hell, if things go south, find me. And he's like, why? We're not even in the same group. She's like, listen, the chaos of battle and everything else, if you find me, I'll protect you. And he's kind of like, huh? He's like offended, He's I don't need protecting is basically what he's saying. So Mikasa goes and then finds out that she's actually not even going to be part of the ones that are attacking the Titan. She's going to be part of the rear guard that's kind of covering the retreat. And she's like, what? I mean, she's the best soldier from what they were saying, with her test scores and just how she was with everything combat-wise. She's the best recruiter trainee they've ever had, right? Maybe they just don't want to sacrifice their best piece. I don't know. But she's pissed, and basically they're like, listen, this is not the person that gives her the orders is like, you know what, this is not a debate, okay? This is what you're doing. We need experienced soldiers protecting the retreat. So she goes and leaves, and she says to Eren, do me a favor, don't die, So, so of course, that's probably what Eren's going to wind up doing. But Eren goes and gets his group together, and he's got Armin, he's got Thomas, he's got a few others, and they get their group together. They're on the top of this, the top of everybody's getting staged on the top of the buildings and whatnot. And then we get to see like a few minutes of some really badass action again. The shit picks up. They're basically going to go and help this forward vanguard and kill as many Titans as they can in their groups, right? So they're cruising along and everybody starts moving, and you just see the speed at which they can move because they're pretty much like using their propulsion to run. Sometimes in midair, it seems like, sometimes along these rooftops, and they're like jetting their shooting their like harpoon look. That's the only thing I can describe them as, like harpoons, grappling hooks, and then jetting and flying with the aid of their gas propulsion pack for these 3D maneuvers. And I mean, they're cruising, man. I mean, really, really cool. And you'd think that the speeds, at least in the manga, I was like, how are they not just like destroying the Titans with these? Well, you can't really capture the motion and the speed in a manga that you can in an anime, because they're going along and cruising, and all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, fucking boom, I mean, like right in their face comes this Titan just jumped, right? And they wind up, they all kind of get knocked back and everything like that, and they're going to recover. Eren's hanging there from a building, and they look, and their buddy Thomas is hanging. He's got all the way up to the crotch, man, all up to his stomach. He's hanging, his bottom part is hanging inside the Titan's mouth. He's upside down, and he's basically kind of got this like help me look on his face. And it all happens kind of in slow motion, but basically the Titan just goes and kind of just gulps and swallows him down. And what the fuck, these things are vicious. Well, you go and you see some of them in the speed at which they move, and then in the next thing, Eren gets pissed off because we all know he's a hothead, right? So Eren gets angry, and he's all like, I'm going to avenge Thomas's death, but of course he doesn't say it. It's more like, and it sounds all really cool in Japanese. I don't speak it, but it sounds cool when you can hear it. So he basically goes batshit insane, and without his team behind him, goes cruising. And they're all like, behind him because they're like, hey, we got to go help him. But he's clearly at the forefront. They're not attacking as a unit. And I would imagine that a couple people try to distract while a couple try to get around behind. I don't know, but. So he goes flying at this thing, and he's cruising, man. And you see this really cool action scene of like buildings to either side of him, and he's just like cruising down the middle of it. He's shooting his harpoon thing, flying through the air. And so he goes and he gets caught up to this thing or gets close to this Titan or whatever, and he comes across and he just fucking, goes to slash it. It looks like he gets him right in the mouth or whatever, right? But then he goes and you see the next thing, and it's a camera shot from the front, and you see him coming towards the camera, and he just like is spinning and hitting the top of the roofs, and shingles are flying everywhere, right? And he's just rolling end over end. When he stops rolling, we finally see he's laying there, this bloody mass. He's missing a goddamn leg. Okay, this Titan, he may have got it in the mouth, but that doesn't matter anyway. That shit, I guess, heals up or regenerates or what have you. But his anger and jump through, he lost a leg, so he's done from the knee down, man. He's going to be in a wheelchair. He's going to be like Captain Ahab. He's going to have himself a peg leg, whatever the case may be. So it's pretty cool, but yet saddening at the same time because you're thinking like, oh shit, this is supposed to be the savior of the world, right? So anyway, one of the other girls in their group winds up getting, she gets knocked back, she gets eaten or what have you. And then the only thing I can describe him as is the Moses Titan. He looks like Moses, got the big beard, you get the big, the big, what do you call it, mustache and beard, and a big Santa Claus, but I'm going to say Moses because otherwise I'll have bad dreams about Santa Claus because he's creepy looking too, these Titans with their extra teeth. So this thing comes and Armin's basically frozen, right? And Armin, I know a lot of people have criticized him. They're like, Armin's a pussy and he's this and he's that. Listen, Armin, he's got a lot of heart, but ultimately doesn't have a lot of balls to back it up. And there's some people that, they really have good intentions, but, in a moment like that, faced with life or death, some people rise to the occasion and just don't care. They flip on a switch and that's it. And other people, man, they're just frozen with fear, and that's Armin. That's what he is. So I'm not gonna badmouth him because of that. He's seeing everybody around him dying, right? So, he goes, and then the Titan goes and grabs his ass, right? And he just puts him down. And Armin's like, so you see him sliding down this giant Titan's throat, the Moses Titan, and you're like, oh man, everybody is gone, right? So then we kind of see Eren go and have this quick flashback, and he's like, Armin, and he has this flashback to when Armin brought him this book that he stole from his parents, or borrowed from his parents. And it's all about the outside world, and it's really cool because, like, you don't realize you take what you have for granted, honestly. And I do the same thing every day. I don't know what other people in other countries live like and have or don't have, but I know that, I probably have better than many, and I don't think it's that great compared to some, but, case in point, they've been living behind these walls, right? And for 100 years, nobody's seen the outside world except for a select few of the Survey Corps, and they don't go far. This book that they're reading in, they're talking about the sea and how and when they hear that in the sea there's salt everywhere, and he's like, and Karen's like, no way, salt, that's expensive. I guess that's like gold to them, right? So you don't realize that a precious mineral like salt is, it's like the merchants would take it all up, and then Armin's like, no, there's too much of it. You don't understand. And there's also fire, and he's showing volcanoes and ice, and he's showing all these different things. And Eren's like, that's basically like, haha, that's bullshit. That's malarkey, I can't believe that. So you see how small their world really is. I don't care if it's a few square miles in here. When you can't go outside the walls and you live, breathe, and die behind these walls, you don't know what the hell's out there. And so it's pretty cool to think that they've never seen some of these different things like a volcano or a sea, and they don't even believe it exists, So anyway, he comes out of this flashback, and Armin's like sliding down the throat of this is nasty, sliding down the throat of the Moses Titan, right? And all of a sudden, I don't know how he got there with one leg. We can only assume he jumped, he propulsed, used his propulsion thing, his grappling hook, but Eren is inside the mouth of the Titan as well. He's propped up in there, and he's reaching in with his arm, and he's holding the Titan open, he's reaching in with his arm, grabbing Armin to help him out, So he's able to help Armin out. He pulls him out, right, and flings him over onto the roof of the roof of the building that's nearby or whatever, 10 feet away. And then Armin's kind of looking back over at him, right? And Eren goes, and he's kind of propped up in there on his one leg that he still has, and he's kind of got his like sword jammed up into this thing, kind of like holding its mouth open. And Armin's like, hurry, like get out. It's all supposed to kind of happen in slow motion, even though it takes a minute or so. But as the episode goes and ends, Eren's going to like jump out, and this was cool because it was not depicted properly and did not do it justice, I don't think, in the manga. Neither the speed of the Titans either, but which I mentioned earlier. But it just clamps down from the inside. Eren's gone. All we see is his bloody hand go flying. So there's nothing left of him, or if there is, he's going to have a hook and a peg leg because he's pretty much foobarred, man. And anybody who hasn't seen any of my previous videos, foobarred is fucked up beyond all recognition. So I stole it from an 80s movie, but I like it. I use it. It's good. So, ultimately, I guess and that wraps up the episode. It was action-packed. It was cool. We learned a lot about the Titans. I loved it. Hopefully you did as well. But my episode question, brothers and sisters, is real simple. Are you, and I asked this in one of my Walking Dead ones too, are you a person who rises to the occasion in the face of fear and just kind of goes batshit crazy, and does whatever you have to do to survive? Or are you a person who freezes up? And honestly, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's truly, I have been both at times in my life. And I think at times when I was brash and just kind of flipped that switch, I honestly look back on it now that I'm married and have kids, and I think it was stupid, what I did, because there was times that I could have had serious injury to myself because of my brash move. But so I guess that's my question. Feel free to leave it in your answer in the comments down below, and of course hit the thumbs up, the like button if you think that I deserve it. And or just for the hell of it, if you like, whatever makes you, whatever floats your boat. But and then subscribe if you haven't done so already. We will look forward to catching you in the next episode of this awesome anime nation.
Remember, brothers and sisters, to share, subscribe, spread the word of the nation to others. And of course, if you like watching the videos, watching them is always much appreciated. Have a nice day.